Before I get started, I would like to apologize for the background noise that you'll hear throughout the video. We are currently holding one of our training sessions here live in Tulsa, and the background noise is coming through my door, so you will hear some noise in the background. That is one of my other instructors teaching a class that you can attend by talking to one of your AAON sales reps. In this training session, we're going to show you how to install Prism II on a computer that has never had it before. There's several things that we need to do to start with, and that is to download Prism II and the drivers needed for Prism II. So I'm going to go to my web browser, and I'm going to go to the AAON website. So you can just go to AAON.com. When you get to AAON.com, you go to Software, Prism II Software, and then the first thing we want to do is download the Prism II software by clicking on this. And this is going to download the file, and it has completed that download. While I'm here, I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to download the USB driver software as well. Okay, so both programs, the Prism II software and the drivers, are both on my computer. They have been downloaded. My computer downloads all of my files to the Downloads folder on your computer. This is a standard setup for most Windows computers. So if you're on the left-hand side of your Windows Explorer, you go to Downloads, and it's going to be the first two on there because I just downloaded those. The first one I'm going to want to open is this one right here. This is a self-extracting zip file. If you're unfamiliar with that, you can review my training videos on computer basics, and we talk about those a little bit more in detail. But in this case, all I'm going to do is double click on it, and it's going to tell me where it's going to put it. I'm going to leave it all alone, and let's just push unzip, and I'm going to push OK, and then I can close that window. I'm going to do the same thing for Prism II. I'm going to double click on it. In this case, Windows doesn't like this file, so I'm going to push more info and then say run anyway. Do the same thing, unzip. It's going to extract those files from the compressed file. Once it's done, push OK and close. Now, if you go to your C drive over here, or your local disk, sometimes that will be hidden under this PC. So you can click on that, go to local disk C, and now I have a folder named Prism II. It's already put it in the right place. If I double click on that, it's going to open that folder. There's going to be three items in there: configuration, mail send, and Prism II. Do not play with this mail send. That is something that we use internally in Prism. This is going to be your Prism II software right here. For now, don't open that. Also, the drivers, they were placed under a folder called temp on your C drive. So temp, and now I have a folder in here called WM USB drivers. Once you have downloaded and extracted both files, now we need to install the drivers. This is very important to do before you plug in your USB link. So if you've already plugged in your USB link, you probably found out that it doesn't work quite right. So it's very important to install the drivers before you plug in your USB link. So again, those are located on your drive C under temp. I'm going to double click on this folder here, and there's three folders in there. These are two of the folders are for older products, so they'll say old. You want this one right here that says USB link new. Everything we sell today uses this driver in here. So I'm going to double click on that. Now, if your computer's fairly new, you're going to want to use the USB or the 64-bit, so the CP210X VCP installer 64-bit. For most of your computers, you're going to use this. If you have an older computer, you may need that, but most of the time you're going to be using the 64-bit. So to install the drivers, you just simply double click on that. You just push next, accept the license, next, and now the drivers are installed. Finish. Now I'm going to plug in the USB link, and now that the drivers are installed, I can safely plug in the USB link into any USB port on your computer, and you will get the ding from Windows saying that it was plugged in. Now I need to verify that it was installed properly, and I need to find out which communications port the computer assigned to it. The easiest way to do this is come down here to your type here to search. If you click in there and type in you type in Device Manager and press Enter, and it's going to open up your Device Manager. Your Device Manager is a list of everything that's installed on your computer. So it's going to show you all of your computer components that you have. What we're going to look for is a listing here that says ports, COM and LPT. Over to the left of it, you're going to see a little caret. You're going to click on that little caret, and it's going to drop down. If it installed the drivers correctly, it's going to drop down, and it's going to show Silicon Labs CP210X USB to UART bridge. So the driver's installed properly. Now this right here is what COM port it was assigned when you plugged in the USB link. Usually Windows will remember this, so if you use the same USB link on your computer, it will always assign it the same COM port. However, there are times when that can change. Windows will reassign it to a different number. And in that case, you need to come back into your Device Manager and see which port that it was assigned to. You need to make a note of this number because we need to know what it is once we start up Prism. Now we're going to focus on getting Prism II set up for the first time. Notice when we did the Prism II install, or the extraction of Prism II, it did not place an icon on my desktop anywhere. That's the very first step you want to do, is create a shortcut on your desktop. So I'm going to go down to my File Explorer. I'm going to go to my C drive. You can go there from here or over here. I'm going to look for the folder called Prism II. Double click on it. And again, there's our 3 files. This is the one that runs Prism II. Now this is very important that you follow these steps exactly, otherwise it will not work right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on it, just single click and release to highlight it. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my cursor over there and then click and hold the right mouse button, the one on the right. Click and hold it, and then drag that over to your desktop. Once it's over your desktop, you're going to release the right mouse button. It's going to bring up a menu. What you want to do is choose Create Shortcut here, and it will create a shortcut on your desktop. I'm going to do that again in a different way. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to, same file, I'm going to right click on it and just do a quick right click, no holding, quick right click, and that pops up a menu of options. What we're going to do this time is we're going to go to Send To, and then choose Desktop Create Shortcut. And it created a shortcut over here. Now it will populate with the icon, so it will be the same color, the blue icon. It just sometimes will take a few minutes for Windows to detect that there's an icon with it. And that's how you create the shortcut. Now that we've created a shortcut on the desktop, we can now double click on that shortcut to open up Prism II. When you first open Prism II, it's going to look like this. Now, please note that down on the bottom right it says View Status Only. That means we are not logged in and we will not be able to make any settings changes of any type. So we first need to log in, and that's done right here with this button that says Log In, and it has a set of keys on there. So I'm going to click on that. Now it's going to ask if your username and passcode. If this is the first time you've used it and you have not set up any users, you can just use the default of admin for the username and the same for the passcode, admin. And they're all lowercase. Now you can push login, and now you have administrator access. Now that you're logged in, we need to set up the Prism II to communicate with your USB link. So I'm going to come up here. I need to set up a job site to do that. So I'm going to click on job site, and this is going to pull up your job site settings screen. Now, if you are just doing one unit at a time and not working with a communicating system, then you just need to do this once, and then you can follow some additional steps for each job you go to, which we'll show you here in a later video. So on here, we need to select the serial port that we're connected to. So in this case, it says no port selected. And remember when we looked at the File Explorer, or the Device Manager, it showed us that we were on COM3. So I'm going to down arrow and choose COM3. Once I choose the COM3, now I need to choose the type of COM link I'm going to use. It defaults to COM-Link 4. We do not sell that device anymore. The only one we sell now is the COM-Link 5 or USB Link 2. We need to use that option right there. Next, if you're using this on a standalone unit, which most of you will be, you're going to want to choose single loop USB link. So anytime you're using your USB link and nothing else is tied to that controller, then you need to choose single loop USB link. Once you do that, you can push exit, and it's now set up for communicating to that job. Now we're set up to communicate to the controller by setting up the job site. We can connect up to the USB link to make sure there's communications there. I can click on this button right here. It says offline, and it will turn green when you're connected to the USB link correctly. Now notice on the left over here, you've got site selection. This is your job site you set up. You're allowed to set up to 500 different job sites, and each job site can have a different set of settings. That's done over here. So if I clicked on a different job site, it can have a different settings here, but most of the time you're just going to be using a single job site. Now these other two, we're not going to talk about those in this class. We'll talk about them in a more advanced Prism II class. But down here where it says unit selection, these are all of the units that your COM link or your USB link will be able to communicate to. So we need to go and find which ones are connected to it. In order to do that, you go up to Communications, search for units, and what this is going to do is pull up a search for units screen. This screen right here is going to show you a whole bunch of black boxes. These boxes represent one box for every controller that you can possibly have in a Wattcom communications. Or if you are using the AAON's proprietary Wattmaster communications to tie all the controllers together, this is the maximum number. So you have each loop here, you can have up to 60 controllers, and you can have up to 60 loops. For our case, most of the time you're going to be dealing with just the first loop, up to 60 controllers. So we're going to push start search, and it's going to turn a box green for every controller that is connected to that USB link right now. In my case, I only have one, so when I do a start search, it found a controller on address 11. Once it finds all of the controllers you have connected, you can click on exit and then save search results. And now you'll see over here under unit selection, it shows a controller at address 1 on that loop that we're on. Prism II is now set up to communicate to your controller properly. I'm going to show you a few more things so that you get a little bit more familiar with Prism II. Now I'm still connected. Everything is still this way we left it. In order to open up that controller to see what's going on with it, all I do is come over here, find the controller I want to talk to, and double click on it. And it's going to pull that controller up. In my case, I don't have any sensors connected to it, so everything is going to be zeros. I just have a controller sitting on my desk, and it has alarms and things like that. This is what we call the main status screen. So this is going to show you just an overview of what's going on with the unit, whether it's occupied or not, if it's in the heating mode or cooling mode, some outdoor conditions, some damper positions, and some other statuses that you can see just right here. Now you also have another way to view status, and it will give you a lot more detail than what's shown on here, and that's by clicking on this right here. It looks like a screwdriver and a wrench. I call it the scrunch button. So if you click on the button, it's going to go into detail viewer for this controller, and this is going to show you all of the status with this controller in more of a non-graphical format. So again, mode of operation for the occupied, unoccupied, whether it's in heating mode or cooling mode. It will even show you if there's any backnet signals coming in to tell us what we're doing. It's going to show you all the enable statuses. It's going to show you the main control settings and what it's doing right now. Outdoor air, supplier control, duct static pressure, building pressure, so on and so forth. There's a few other things we can do with this screen, which we'll talk about in future videos. This concludes the installation and testing of the Prism II software. Before I let you go though, I want to show you a couple little things extra. First off, to exit the status screen, you just click on the exit button. If you were to leave the job, you're done working on the job, and you close everything out, and now you're going to a new job site, and you're connecting up to a different unit. So I'm using the same tools, same USB link that I've been using, that I have in my tool bag. I'm connect up on the job, connecting up the USB link to the controller. I'm going to double click on the Prism II again. Everything on the settings should be the same because we didn't change anything. We're still using the same USB link on the same computer. When you open up Prism, remember, it's very important, you need to log in first so that you can make changes. So you click on the login button, you type in admin, login, and now I'm logged in. In this case, there's one controller connected. It shows that it's one controller, but it remembered from the last job. If this job has different controllers or more controllers on it, what you're going to want to do is go back up to the communications again and search for units and do another start search. And it's going to find the different controllers, if there are different controllers, when it does that. So I did a new start for unit or search for units, exit, save, and it's going to pull up that controller for this particular job. Now this is the easiest way to work with multiple jobs as a service technician. You're not going to want to set up a new job site for each job that you go to. Sometimes that can get a little complicated in the number of jobs you have. It's much easier just to have a default site or a default job setting with all of your settings in it for that USB link. and then just do a new search for units each time you go to a different job. And it will always pull up the controller that's installed in that unit, and then you can access it just like before. So this concludes the installation and testing of the Prism II software.